Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing all the lies and all the nonsense coming out of the left. The left and their precious little narratives. One of the more recent dishonest narratives that they've attempted to spin is the narrative surrounding the supposed bipartisan border security bill that they told us Donald Trump got his minions in Congress to stop because Donald Trump needs the issue of the border to get elected. That's what they told you, right? That's what they said. They stated it as fact, not to be questioned, but there was only a couple problems with the premise that they were attempting to set. Problem number one, it wasn't even a border bill, it was a fund the proxy war in Ukraine bill. And secondly, the bill itself was totally unnecessary. Joe Biden doesn't need new executive authority and new executive powers to, quote, shut down the border. Joe Biden just needs to do his job. In other words, Joe Biden needs to stop flying illegal migrants across the nation to their destination of choice. Maybe let's just start there. Before signing over new executive authority to the president, maybe let's do the bare minimum, like not funding the core of the crisis on the backs of hardworking taxpayers, maybe. Joe Biden's illegal immigration voter importing scheme, his little racket, once again gets exposed by two absolute base chads that I'm sure you guys are aware of. We've got Sheriff Grady Judd from Florida and former ICE Director Tom Homan, arguably two of the coolest guys to ever exist, and I'm not saying that just to say it, I mean it. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so I'm sure you guys have seen this guy before. You don't even really need to be involved in the realm of politics to know who this guy is. This is Sheriff Grady Judd. He's the most viral sheriff. You've probably seen his clips before. Well, here he is, revealing how the U.S. federal government is providing unlimited plane tickets to illegals for free to any destination in the United States, and supposedly also trafficking women directly into the sex trade. Take a look at this.
And what this is, and I want everybody to see it clearly, federal policy drives illegal immigrant crime and victimization. And that's the focus, other than our victims of human trafficking. Listen, folks, I want to introduce you to Andres Gill, okay? Here's this guy. He's also on this board, but get a look at him for a second. He came down here from New York with 3 females. All of them are in the country illegally. Did you hear what I said? They're all here illegally. He's the one that comes with them to drive them. These ladies are all controlled by a human trafficker. We think their human trafficker is a female. She sets up their appointments, she puts their ads online, she tells them where to go. And by the way, on Friday, the victims of human trafficking, and we've graded them out, 3 of them that are here illegally from Venezuela, 3 of them have to pay her $3,000 apiece on Friday, or else they're threatened. So they're not free. They're really indentured, and they're quote unquote paying off their debt. Now here's what they told us, all right? I'm sure the federal government will verify that this is not true, but you decide who you want to believe, whether you want to believe these victims of human trafficking or the whitewash the federal authorities give you. They said that when they came into the country illegally, DHS gave them a form, an ID, paperwork that allows them to fly for free. Southwest would let your bags fly free. Well, the federal government will let your illegal immigrants fly free. And they operate out of New York. And they were working up there, and the New York authorities said, hey, if you don't have identification, you can't work in our sex trade up here. We don't allow sex trade here at all, but New York will allow you to do some stuff if you've got the proper authority. So they say they make a lot of money. They're addicted to it. These ladies are going to give you more details. They tell us that they fly to major metro centers for free on the federal government, where they set up their appointments for sex all around the country. Did you hear what I said? Listen, folks, If they don't pay $3,000 a piece on Friday, they're in trouble. The human trafficker sets up the deal. Hey, this deal is just outside of Tampa. They say they show this ID, this card, this paper, they fly for free down here. Then they fly back. But we heard a similar theme from all 21 of these folks.
I'm not kidding when I say that Joe Biden is the employee of probably the decade. For Pete's sakes, the greatest employee in the history of the cartels. He is the cartel's favorite. That's why illegal immigrants show up at the border wearing Joe Biden t-shirts, like this guy.
Es el presidente y la vicepresidenta de los Estados Unidos.
Ah, pero entonces ya lo traigo aquí para que me dejen entrar.
Joe Biden is enabling all of this. Joe doesn't need new powers, as he suggested.
Give me the power.
Joe Biden needs to use the executive powers that are already on the books, and most importantly, he needs to get Congress as the leader of the Democrat Party. In other words, he needs to get Democrats on board to actually do something, to do their jobs, to secure the border, not expand the asylum process, not increase funding so they can continue housing and flying illegal migrants across the nation. No, they need to deport illegal migrants with no credible claim of asylum. Oh, but the kids, the women and the kids. Every frickin' time, every know-nothing brainwashed liberal that you interact with says the same thing. But what about the kids? Asylum seekers, the poor people. Listen, are you paying attention? Listen to the words about to come out of my mouth. Joe Biden isn't helping poor people. He isn't helping poor women and children. He is driving a human smuggling racket. In other words, he's driving the most vulnerable of people, undocumented, unrepresented, in many cases uneducated women and children, directly into the market for human flesh. That is what he is doing. He is enabling a system that sends undocumented men into a life of almost indentured servitude, working illegally in a nation, and in many cases sending women and children directly into human trafficking cartels. Again, sending people directly into indentured servitude, where they don't have a passport, they don't have the ability to call the police, they don't have legal representation, people who are stuck, trapped, indebted to the cartels, and then of course made to work indefinitely in the most horrifying conditions, doing the most horrifying jobs that you could possibly imagine. But the outrage here is that Donald Trump suggested that Republicans shouldn't sign on to a bill that does absolutely nothing. Yeah, Donald Trump's the bad guy. What an absolute garbage narrative, especially when you consider the fact that Joe Biden doesn't need extra powers. And here's where Mr. Tom Homan comes in. Donald Trump's former ICE director, Tom Homan, testifies at a House Judiciary hearing on presidential power to secure the border after Joe Biden admits to secretly flying 320,000 illegals into the United States.
I worked for 6 presidents starting with Ronald Reagan. But understand this, President Biden is the first president in the history of this nation who came in office and unsecured a border on purpose by signing over 90 executive orders abolishing everything we did that were successful policies. Based on this memorandum by Secretary Mayorkas on ICE priorities, ICE wouldn't have dropped a detainer on him anyways because he wasn't bad enough criminal for ICE to drop a detainer on him. Even though the law says there's no prerequisite to commit a crime after you commit the crime of illegal entry to be a target for enforcement. But Secretary Mayorkas has taken a lot of criminal aliens off the table for ICE. And how do I know that? By sheer numbers. 57% decrease in arrested criminal aliens under this administration. 68% decrease in at-large arrest of criminal aliens. 44% decrease in detainer requests for criminal aliens. 67% decrease in deportations of criminal aliens. 55% decrease in immigration-related criminal convictions. This administration wants to secure the border. They've had 3 years to take action. Why do they wait now? Well, there must be an election coming up. Then they come up with a bill in Senate that they know will never pass the House, so they can say, well, now it's the Republicans' fault. I mean, we had the most secure border. It wasn't 100% secured. We had a little more work to do. We had more wall to finish, but it was the most secure border based on data, DHS's own data, than we've ever seen. And we went from the most secure border to historic, never seen before illegal alien encounters. That's just a fact. 3.2 million encounters last year. That is, first year under President Biden, historic record. Second year, he broke his own historic record. Third year, he broke both those 2 years of historic records. We never see anything like this.
The president has the ability to secure the border. I mean, maybe not entirely. Of course, there's always going to be illegal crossings, but he can do something. Instead, he's chosen to do nothing, or I think it's more fair to say he's doing something, but doing the opposite of what is needed and what's required by the laws on the book. And really, the only proof that needs to be accompanied to that statement are the flight tickets themselves. Joe Biden admits to secretly flying 320,000 illegals into the United States. Texas is trying to secure the border because Joe Biden refuses to do his job. The response from the White House is, well, actually that's not true and Texas is standing in the way of our immigration reforms, blah, blah, blah. Joe Biden's spending all of his time suing Texas, stopping them from securing the border, all the while just flying illegal migrants in. Complete insanity. Everything the Democrats tell you is a conspiracy theory and isn't happening is happening. It's always distract from the truth, push nonsense propaganda, lie, lie, lie. But once again, they've been completely exposed. The border crisis doesn't belong to the Republican Party. It doesn't belong to Donald Trump. It belongs solely to Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. And that's not me saying that for partisan sake. That's what the facts are saying. And that's also pretty much the video. I mean, what else needs to be said? They're flying illegal migrants into the country on your dime while telling you the border's secure, but they also need more power to secure the border. The biggest liars you could possibly imagine. That's the video. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.